The girl who abandoned the black billionaire and his son had no idea. He had a $50 million secret. "Noah, get in the car. Now," Malcolm said, his voice low and tight as he pulled his son toward the black Escalade. The boy hesitated, his small fingers clutching a crumpled drawing in his hand. "But Dad, she was supposed to come today. She promised." Malcolm clenched his jaw and glanced over at the cafe across the street, where just moments ago he'd seen Alana Davis, the woman who had once promised to be part of their future, laughing beside a well-dressed man who clearly wasn't him. She hadn't seen them. Or maybe she had. Maybe that's why she turned so quickly, shielding her face with her oversized sunglasses as if she didn't recognize the man she'd left behind, or the boy she once swore she'd never abandon. The twist in Malcolm's gut wasn't about jealousy. It was something worse, something deeper. Rage wrapped in heartbreak, coated with the bitter taste of betrayal. He'd built a life from the ashes she left behind, rebuilt, brick by brutal brick. And now she was here again, smiling, radiant, untouched by the wreckage she'd caused. She had no idea that the man she left was now worth over $50 million, and he intended to keep it that way. For now. "Dad?" Noah tugged his sleeve again, voice soft, confused. "Is she coming back?" Malcolm forced a smile, one that cracked at the edges. "No, champ, not today." Across the street, Alana's laughter floated into the air like a ghost, and with it, memories he'd buried deep began clawing their way back. 3 years earlier, Malcolm Langston was just another ambitious coder from Atlanta trying to get his startup off the ground. He wasn't flashy, didn't care for expensive cars or attention. He just wanted to build something real for himself and his newborn son. Alana had swept into his life like a summer storm. Confident, captivating, unafraid to tell him his hoodie looked ridiculous or that his apartment smelled like burnt popcorn. She was studying public relations at Emory and moonlighted as a bartender. He met her on a Tuesday. By Friday, she'd moved in. At first, things were magic. They stayed up late, talking about dreams, her agency, his app. Noah, barely a few months old then, would gurgle between them, his chubby hands waving wildly. Alana said she wanted to be a mother. Said she loved how fiercely Malcolm protected his son. But when the money ran tight and venture capitalists weren't calling, the magic began to flicker. "I didn't sign up to be a nanny," she snapped one night, shoving a bottle into the sink. "This isn't what I pictured, Malcolm. You said you had vision. Where is it?" "It takes time," he replied, exhausted from a 14-hour coding marathon. "I'm doing this for Noah, for us." "No, you're doing this for your ego," she hissed. "Face it." "You're a guy with a laptop and a fantasy, and I'm done waiting." The next morning she was gone, left a note on the fridge and took everything she'd bought, including the coffee machine. He should have hated her then, should have locked her out of every corner of his heart, but heartbreak isn't logical. And for months, Malcolm found himself checking the street, wondering if she'd come back. She didn't. What did come was something else. A call from a quiet, serious woman named Marla Beckett, head of innovation at Orium Ventures. She'd stumbled upon his prototype through a friend of a friend. Said it had promise. Real promise. "I think you're sitting on something big, Mr. Langston," she said. "How soon can you be in San Francisco?" Fast forward to now. The man standing beside the Escalade wasn't a struggling dreamer anymore. Malcolm Langston was the founder and CEO of Cypherly, a cybersecurity AI firm quietly acquired last year by a military contractor. The deal? Confidential. But insiders whispered of numbers north of $50 million. He kept his name out of the press, avoided LinkedIn. His social media was practically non-existent. He didn't do it for secrecy, he did it for Noah. But now, standing 100 feet from the woman who'd left him broken and broke, the past threatened to shatter his carefully rebuilt life. Back across the street, Alana linked arms with the man beside her, some finance bro in a fitted suit, laughing like life had never kicked her in the teeth. She glanced up, locking eyes with Malcolm for half a second, and froze. It was just a blink, but it was enough. She turned away fast, pulling the man toward the cafe entrance. Malcolm didn't move. He didn't wave or call out. He simply opened the car door for Noah and climbed in after him. "Dad," Noah whispered, "I think she saw you." "I know," he replied, voice low. "Let's go." As the SUV pulled away from the curb, Alana stood framed in the cafe's glass doorway, her smile gone, her hand trembling just slightly as she watched the taillights disappear into the city. She didn't know the truth, not yet, but soon she would. And when she did, she'd realize what she threw away wasn't just a man with a dream. It was a father, a builder, a billionaire, and he wasn't done with her yet. It wasn't until they were halfway across town that Noah finally asked the question Malcolm had been dreading. "Dad, was that her?" Malcolm kept his eyes on the road, hands tight around the steering wheel. The silence in the car stretched until it hurt. "Yes," he said finally. That was Alana. Noah looked out the window. He was 9 now, smart beyond his years. He didn't cry often, didn't complain. But his voice cracked a little when he asked, "Why didn't she say hi?" Malcolm swallowed hard. He wanted to lie, tell his son it was a misunderstanding, that maybe she didn't see them or that she was busy. But Malcolm had promised himself, after all the lies and all the heartbreak, that he would always tell Noah the truth. "She made a choice a long time ago," he said. "And some people, when they walk away, they don't look back." Noah was quiet again. Then, softly, "But I didn't do anything wrong." "No, you didn't," Malcolm said. "She did." Back at the apartment, a penthouse nobody would expect a man like Malcolm Langston to live in, they sat on the rooftop terrace, eating sandwiches. Malcolm had the blinds pulled just enough so the view of the San Francisco skyline gleamed behind them, golden in the late afternoon sun. Noah was tracing a new drawing with his markers. This one was a robot guarding a treasure chest. "What's that?" Malcolm asked, gesturing at the chest. "It's the secret," Noah said without looking up. "The robot protects it so the wrong people don't get it." Malcolm smiled. "Sounds smart." "She doesn't get it, right?" Noah asked, pausing. "Not her." Malcolm looked at the sketch, then at his son. "No, buddy, she doesn't get anything." The next day, Malcolm stepped into the boardroom of Seiferle's hidden downtown office. It wasn't in the tech district. He liked it that way. He kept everything discreet, unbranded, tucked behind a nondescript glass door that opened only with biometric clearance. "Morning, boss," said Clara, his executive assistant. She was ex-military, sharp as a blade, and the only person in his circle who knew both about the Alana situation and the scale of his hidden wealth. Malcolm tossed his phone onto the table. "You're not gonna believe who I ran into yesterday." Clara raised an eyebrow. "Let me guess, Alana Davis." He blinked. "How did you—" "She popped up in a background check 2 months ago, applied for a PR job at Syntech, one of our portfolio companies. Didn't make it past screening. Credit's a mess. She's dating some hedge fund analyst, Henry something." "You want me to run a deeper scan?" Malcolm hesitated. "No, not yet." "But flag her. I want to know if she moves again." Clara tapped her tablet. "Done." Malcolm stared out the window for a long moment, then said, "I want to try something." Clara looked up. "You want to talk to her?" "No," he said. "I want her to talk to me, without realizing who she's talking to." Later that evening, Malcolm set up a dummy LinkedIn account under a false name, M. Lang. He used an old, unflattering photo from college and listed himself as a mid-level security consultant for a fake firm. The bio was vague, harmless. Then he sent Alana a message. "Hi, Alana. Saw your profile and remembered we crossed paths in Atlanta. I work with firms looking for PR consultants. You open to freelance work?" He didn't expect her to reply that night, but she did. "Hi." "Oh, wow, small world. Yes, I'm absolutely open. Things have been interesting lately." "Would love to hear more. Feel free to send details." Malcolm stared at the screen. Interesting. That was one way to describe leaving a man and his infant son behind, then showing up 3 years later as if nothing had happened. He typed, "Let's meet for coffee tomorrow. 11 a.m. at Alta Roast on Market. I'd like to hear your ideas firsthand." She replied within minutes. "Perfect, I'll be there. Thanks for reaching out." The next morning, Malcolm didn't wear a suit. He dressed like the old version of himself. Hoodie, jeans, no watch, no assistants. He looked like someone struggling to make rent, not someone whose net worth could bankroll a small country. He arrived early, chose a booth in the corner, sat with his back to the window. When she walked in, he nearly didn't recognize her. Alana had changed. Not on the outside. She was still beautiful, in that curated, influencer-polished way, but something behind her eyes was harder now. Less wonder, more calculation. She scanned the cafe, her gaze brushing over him once, twice, then landing. "Mark?" she asked, approaching the booth. Malcolm nodded and stood. "Nice to meet you." She smiled wide, slipping into the seat across from him. "Wow, you're younger than I expected." "You too," he said. They chatted for a few minutes, surface-level talk about PR, social media trends, client engagement. She spoke quickly, nervously, as if she sensed something but couldn't place it. Then she laughed at something he said, leaned forward, and tilted her head. "I'm sorry," she said. "Do I know you? Your voice is really familiar." Malcolm smiled. "I guess I just have one of those voices." She laughed again, but her eyes were narrowing now. Then his phone buzzed. A text from Clara, Syntex offering her a trial project. "She's taking it." Malcolm stared at the message. His trap was working. Alana was walking straight into it, but then, just as he was about to end the meeting, she said something that made him freeze. "You know," she said, stirring her coffee, "I used to date a guy who looked a little like you. Way back. Atlanta. He had a kid." "Cute one. I thought he was going to make it big, but he didn't." Malcolm didn't blink. "What happened?" She shrugged. "He got obsessed with building some app. Always broke. Always tired." "I got tired of being second place. You know how it is." He nodded slowly. "And the kid?" "Oh. That wasn't mine," she said quickly. "He had the baby with someone else. I was just trying to help." Malcolm's heart dropped. She was lying, boldly, deliberately. He smiled calmly. "Must have been hard." "It was," she said, putting on her most sympathetic expression. "But I moved on. Now I know how to spot losers before I waste time." Malcolm leaned forward, his voice low. "Maybe some losers just take longer to win." She tilted her head again. "That's deep." "Yeah," he said, standing. "So's karma." He turned and walked out, leaving her sitting there with her lukewarm coffee and fake smile. She still didn't recognize him. But soon, the world would. And when the truth came out, she'd wish she had never walked into that cafe. 3 weeks after their coffee meeting, Alana Davis stepped into the downtown office of Syntec, her heels clicking against the polished tile. She wore a fitted cream blazer, carrying herself with the poised confidence of someone climbing back into relevance. What she didn't know was that the building belonged to Cypherly Holdings. What she really didn't know was that the entire job, project, team, even the position, was a carefully built stage for a performance she wasn't aware she'd been cast in. Malcolm watched from a remote feed in his private suite. Clara leaned against the wall behind him, arms crossed. "She thinks she's running PR strategy for the new AI division," Clara said. "Hasn't asked a single question about why a company that doesn't exist on LinkedIn has a multi-million-dollar project with no digital footprint." "She's always been good at ignoring red flags when it benefits her," Malcolm murmured. "And the team? Actors, contractors, and 2 interns, all briefed. I want her to think she's winning." "For now." Alana's office looked out over the Embarcadero, filled with fake awards, mock client files, and a whiteboard scribbled with ideas she had nothing to do with. By day 3, she was already leading meetings and advising the team on branding strategies. One afternoon, she pitched an idea in the conference room, a media campaign for emergent intelligence that would position the fake product as the next big disruption in health tech. "I think we lean into emotion," she said. "We show a father protecting his child with data. Give the AI a human face. Trust is the brand." A young man named Leo, one of the interns, leaned in. "So, like a dad who's secretly a genius, but hides it." "Exactly," Alana smiled. "Women eat that up." The other intern, Maya, asked, "What if he's also, I don't know, a single father, raises the kid on his own?" "That's good," Alana said. "We'd need to be careful, though." "You want empathy, not pity." Leo nodded. "What if there's a twist? Like, the dad's richer than everyone else but lives like he's broke?" For a moment, Alana blinked. The image stung, close to home. She quickly shook it off. Well, if that was real life, the guy would have had more self-respect than to stay hidden, she said, too sharply. Silence followed. Alana waved her hand. "Anyway, it's just fiction. Let's tighten the visuals, draft a mock-up by Thursday." That night, she went home to a 1-bedroom apartment in Pacific Heights she could barely afford. Henry, her hedge fund boyfriend, had stopped staying over. He said it was a busy season. Truthfully, she knew he was losing interest. Too many late nights, too many lies about her work. He thought she was rising again. She let him believe that. But one thing gnawed at her every time she closed her laptop. Why had that guy from the cafe felt so familiar? She clicked through her messages again. "Mark Lang," the profile said. "No profile photo anymore." "Just grayed out. The message history's still there." Her curiosity burned. She copied the email address he'd used to invite her to coffee and pasted it into a search tool she used to dig up influencers' contacts. One hit. The email had been used years ago on a domain registry. "Cypherly Ventures?" She frowned. "Cypherly?" She opened another tab, typed Cypherly Ventures and hit search. Nothing. She scrolled further. A cached result appeared, a legal filing from 5 years ago. The founder, Malcolm Langston. No photo, no social links. She stared at the name. "Langston. Lang." Her stomach twisted. "No," she whispered. She clicked on the corporate registration. The legal representative was a woman named Clara Bishop. Alana stood up, heart racing. It was him. It had to be. The guy from the cafe. Mark Lang. Malcolm Langston. It was Malcolm. and she had no idea what he wanted. At that very moment, Malcolm stood in Noah's room, tucking his son into bed. The boy was holding a small plush robot in one hand, eyes already closing. "Dad," Noah mumbled, "did the robot beat the bad guys?" "Yeah," Malcolm said softly. "He always does. Just takes time." Noah smiled in his sleep. Downstairs, Clara was waiting with a tablet in hand. "She's digging," she said when Malcolm appeared. "She's starting to put it together." "Let her," he replied. "And when she does?" Malcolm took the tablet. On screen was a map of financial transactions, quiet but deliberate. Bit by bit, Syntech's resources were being redirected into real investments, into causes Malcolm cared about. The entire project was a decoy, but the infrastructure was doing real good. "When she knows who she's really working for," he said, "she'll come to me." But not to apologize. Clara raised an eyebrow. Then why? To ask for more. The next morning, Alana walked into the Syntech office with a fake smile and fire in her gut. She knew now. It had always been Malcolm. This wasn't an opportunity. It was a game. A trap, and she had walked right into it. But what Alana Davis didn't know, what she couldn't have guessed in 1,000 years, was that Malcolm's trap wasn't meant to punish her. It was meant to see if she would change, because somewhere, buried beneath 10 years of anger, was a man who still wanted her to be better, even if he never let her in again. Malcolm stood on the edge of the rooftop terrace, hands in his pockets, watching the city bleed into dusk. From here, the Bay Bridge looked like a ribbon of light. Noah was downstairs with Clara, building a Lego castle that would undoubtedly collapse by bedtime. The boy had no idea that the woman who once carried him inside her now sat 3 blocks away, plotting how to claw her way back into the life she'd abandoned. The door to the rooftop clicked open behind him. "She found you," Clara said quietly. "I know. She'll come here next. I'm counting on it." Clara studied him. "You sure this is about closure? Because it's looking a lot like revenge." Malcolm turned to her. "You ever bury a version of yourself so deep that when someone brings it back up, it chokes you?" Clara didn't blink. "Yeah, once." "Then you know," he said. "This isn't revenge. This is control. I'm giving her a chance to tell the truth." "Just once. And if she lies again? Then I bury that version of her too." Alana showed up the next morning, uninvited, at the Syntech building. Her heels echoed on the marble floor as she marched past the front desk, jaw tight, coat swinging behind her like a cape. She took the elevator to the executive floor, where Clara met her with a calm, knowing smile. "Miss Davis," Clara said, arms folded. "He's expecting you." Alana's stomach knotted. She followed Clara down the hall. The door opened. Malcolm was standing behind a glass desk, City behind him, tailored suit this time, charcoal, subtle pinstripe, no tie. The transformation hit her like a slap. It was him, not the man in the hoodie, not Mark Lang, the man she left in Atlanta. Except now, he was different, larger than life, confident in a way that wasn't just money. It was power, quiet, absolute. She stepped inside. He didn't offer a seat. "So," she said, forcing a light tone, "you're the one running the puppet show." "No puppets," Malcolm said. "Just mirrors, and you've been performing beautifully," she exhaled. "You really let me believe it was all real." "The job, the project, the team." It was real enough to expose the truth. What truth? That you haven't changed. Alana's face hardened. "You think you can judge me? After vanishing? After never once reaching out to let me explain?" "I didn't vanish," he cut in. "You walked. You left. You looked me in the eye and said, "I didn't sign up to be a mother." Then you packed your bags and disappeared. Her voice cracked. You think it was that simple? I was drowning, Malcolm. We were broke. You were obsessed with that app. We couldn't pay rent. I panicked. I wasn't ready. You were ready enough to lie about Noah. The silence in the room was heavy. I never told anyone he wasn't mine, she whispered. You never told anyone he was. Alana looked down. I didn't know what to do. You could have called, Malcolm said. You could have come back. You didn't. He walked around the desk now, standing close. You had chances. All of them. And you used everyone to climb something that didn't want you. And now you're back. Why? She met his eyes. Because I'm tired of running. No, Malcolm said, calm. You're tired of losing. Alana looked away. I gave you that position to see what you do with power, Malcolm said. You used it to erase your past, not own it. I'm not the same girl you knew, she said. Then prove it. He turned to his desk and opened a drawer. Inside was a thick manila envelope. He handed it to her. What's this? She asked. A real offer. A contract. PR director of Cypherly's philanthropic division. 7 figures. Public facing. You'd be the voice of the company. Alana stared. You're giving me this? I'm giving you one shot to earn it. Her hands shook as she opened the envelope, scanning the terms. It was everything she'd ever wanted. Influence, money, redemption. Then she saw it. At the bottom, just before the signature line, subject to public disclosure of parental abandonment and corrective commitment to co-guardian responsibilities for one Noah Langston. Her mouth went dry. You want me to go public? No, I want you to tell the truth. Alana dropped the folder. That'll ruin me. People will crucify me. You're asking me to destroy my reputation. I'm offering you the chance to rebuild one, he said. But it starts with Noah. You want this job, this life? You face him. I haven't seen him since he was a baby. He remembers. Alana shook her head. What if he hates me? Malcolm looked at her then, really looked, and for the first time there was something almost like softness in his eyes. He probably will. At first. She swallowed, breath shaking. Why are you doing this? Because one day he's going to ask me why I never gave you a second chance, and I want to be able to say I did. Alana looked at the contract again, heart hammering. This wasn't a job. It was a confession, and she didn't know if she had the strength to make it. That night, Malcolm found Noah asleep with the Lego castle finally standing tall. He sat on the edge of the bed. Dad? Noah mumbled. Yeah, buddy. Is she gonna come back? Malcolm brushed a hand over his son's hair. I don't know yet, but if she does, it'll be because she earned it. Noah turned over and drifted back to sleep. Malcolm sat there for a long time, watching his son breathe, wondering if redemption could ever really be enough. And in a high-rise apartment across town, Alana stared at her reflection in the mirror, wondering if she was brave enough to find out. Alana stood in the hallway outside Clara's apartment, her fingers trembling around the worn photo in her hand. It was the only picture she had of her son, barely 6 months old, eyes wide and cheeks full. She had carried it for years, hidden deep in a book of poetry she never read, like a sin folded between verses. She hadn't slept. Couldn't. Every part of her felt fractured. She had spent her whole life running from the things she didn't understand, and now here she was, on the other side of a polished wooden door, about to meet the boy she'd left behind. Clara opened the door, instantly registering the look in Alana's eyes. No makeup, no polished heels, just jeans, sneakers, and the raw nerves of a woman who'd been stripped of every layer of pride. "He's inside," Clara said, "but he doesn't know who you are yet." Alana nodded silently. Inside the apartment, Noah was building another Lego structure on the living room rug. The kid had a gift. He looked up, eyebrows raised, but stayed seated. "Hey," he said. "Hi," Alana replied softly, not moving closer. "I like what you're building." "It's a train station," he said. "I've never been to one, but I saw pictures. They're loud and complicated. I think that's why I like them." Alana smiled, heart cracking. "I can understand that." Noah stared at her for a long second. "You're the lady from the office, the one who talks to my dad." "Yes." "So why are you here?" She hesitated. "Because there's something I need to tell you. And it's hard, and it might make you upset." Noah blinked. "Are you sick or something?" "No," she said quickly, then knelt down to his level. "But I've been sick in a different way. Sick with fear and shame. And I'm trying to fix that now." He tilted his head. "Are you gonna cry?" She almost laughed, wiping the corner of her eye. "Probably." "Is that okay?" "I guess. Crying's not bad." Alana took a shaky breath. "I'm your mom, Noah." The room froze. He looked at her like she'd spoken a foreign language. "No, you're not." "I am. I was very young and scared, and I made a choice. A really terrible one. I left. I didn't think I could be a mother. And for a long time I told myself I'd ruined everything so badly I could never come back." Noah's expression didn't change, but his knuckles tightened around the Lego bricks. "Why now?" he asked. "Because your dad gave me a second chance. Not to erase what I did, but to finally face it." Noah didn't speak. "I'm not asking you to forgive me," she added. "Not now. Maybe not ever. But I wanted to look you in the eye and tell you the truth. And say I'm sorry." Noah stared at her, quiet for what felt like forever. Then he whispered, "Do you even know what my favorite color is?" Alana's lip trembled. "No, I don't." "Green? Like the dinosaur on my pajamas." She nodded, smiling through tears. "Green is perfect. And my favorite food is peanut butter and apples, together." "Got it." He narrowed his eyes. "And I hate clowns. Like, a lot." "That's very understandable." Silence again. Then softly he asked, "Can I go back to building?" "Of course," she said, stepping back, giving him space. He turned away, but looked over his shoulder before returning to his Lego station. "Maybe you can come again tomorrow, if you want." Alana froze. "I'd like that very much," she whispered. Across town, Malcolm sat in a boardroom at the top of Syntech HQ, surrounded by executives and legal advisors. On the wall behind him was a massive display showing graphs, timelines, and one headline that made his chest tighten. "Former Syntech exec tied to Billionaire's secret child scandal." He had expected the media to catch on eventually. What he hadn't expected was the storm that followed. Clara stood in the corner, arms folded. "You knew it would leak," she said. "Not this fast," Malcolm replied. "Someone inside the firm pushed it." "It wasn't me." "I know. Could be Ron from legal. He's always had a thing for torching reputations." "Doesn't matter anymore," Malcolm muttered. "Let them come. I'm ready." But Clara wasn't convinced. "You're risking everything, Malcolm." "This could impact Seiferle's IPO. It's not just your story now, it's a media circus." "I don't care." "Yes, you do." He turned to her. The company will survive. But if I keep hiding the truth, Noah won't trust me either. I've taught him to fight for transparency. I have to live that too. Clara stared at him. And what about Alana? Malcolm paused. She's doing the right thing. For the first time in her life, she's not choosing herself. Clara gave him a long look. Maybe that's because, for the first time in her life, someone didn't give up on her. He didn't respond. That evening, as the sun sank over the bay, Alana sat on a park bench near the playground watching Noah run with Clara's dog, Blue. The laughter coming from him was the kind that wrapped around her like sunlight. It was pure, untouched by the choices she'd made. A man in a dark coat sat beside her. She didn't have to look to know it was Malcolm. "You okay?" he asked. "No," she said. "But I'm not running anymore." "That's something." They sat in silence, watching their son chase the dog across the grass. "I talked to the board today," Malcolm said. "They're backing me." "Even after everything?" Alana turned to him, surprised. "How?" "Because I told them the truth, and I reminded them the company exists to solve problems, not bury them." She smiled faintly. "You always did know how to turn a crisis into a mission." He looked at her. "What about you?" "I think I want to earn his trust back, even if it takes the rest of my life. You might not get that chance." "I know." "But if you do," he said, "don't waste it." Their eyes met. Noah ran up, breathless. "Hey, Mom, can you push me on the swing?" Alana's heart stopped at the word. "Mom." She looked at Malcolm. He smiled, just a little. Alana rose to her feet and followed her son to the swing set. As she pushed him gently, the sun dipping low behind them, she realized this wasn't a redemption arc wrapped in gold. It was just the beginning. And that was enough. The morning air in San Francisco had a bite to it, the kind that stung your skin just enough to remind you you were alive. Malcolm stood at the massive windows of his penthouse office, staring at the skyline, hands in his pockets. His reflection looked back at him, not as the calculated billionaire people feared in boardrooms, but as a father waiting for the storm to come. Clara burst through the door without knocking. "It's happening," she said, holding up her phone. Malcolm turned. "What?" "She's filed for custody." The words hung in the air like smoke. Thick. Suffocating. Malcolm's face didn't flinch, but his voice lost its edge. "Alana?" "Yes." Her attorney just sent over the papers. She's seeking joint custody of Noah. He slowly walked to his desk, picked up the papers Clara laid down. His name, her name. And Noah's, centered and innocent. "She said she wanted to earn his trust," he said, "not take him. She claims it's about fairness. That Noah deserves the right to know her, legally." Malcolm exhaled sharply, not in anger, but disbelief. "I gave her space. I let her in. Now she's coming for him like this." Clara's tone softened. "Maybe she's afraid you'll shut her out again." He looked at her, jaw tight. "She had 10 years to come back. I gave her weeks. That's more than she deserved." Clara hesitated. "And yet, you brought her into his life." Malcolm sat down, eyes scanning the document again. "I need to speak to her. Alone." Later that day, Alana met him in a quiet conference room at the law firm's office. "Yeah." She looked drained, pale under her olive-brown skin, eyes hollow with guilt and defiance. "You didn't even warn me," Malcolm said, his voice low. "I didn't come to fight, Malcolm." "No." "Then what do you call this?" She set her purse down slowly. I'm not taking him away from you. I'm not even asking for equal time yet. But if something happened to you, I'd have no rights to my own son. Do you understand how that feels? Malcolm stayed silent. I did this for protection, she added. For him, not to punish you. Funny, he replied. It feels like punishment. She closed her eyes. You think I want a courtroom to dissect my worst decisions? I don't. But this isn't just your story to write. He's mine too. He stood, walked to the window, trying to hold back the anger rising in his throat. Do you know what I've built to keep that boy safe? The private school. The therapists. A staff that cares more about him than half the mothers I know. I know, she said softly. No, you don't, he snapped. You see the photos and hear the laughter, but you weren't there when he had nightmares about being alone, when he cried because other kids had moms who showed up to school plays and birthday parties. You don't know what it cost to protect him from the idea that he was unwanted. I do now, she said, stepping forward. I've lived with that shame every single day. That's why I came back. But now you're dragging lawyers into it. Because I'm scared you'll change your mind tomorrow, that you'll shut the door and I'll vanish again from his world. They stood in the silence, both breathing like survivors, like people who had once loved too much and then not enough. Malcolm finally turned to her. You want access? Fine. But there are rules. No pop-ins, no decisions without me. And if you so much as hint at leaving again, I won't, she interrupted, voice trembling. Not again. He watched her carefully, then nodded. The following week they tried something new, co-parenting therapy. Dr. Karen Lynn, a petite black woman with wise eyes and no time for games, sat across from them as they exchanged tense glances on the couch. I want to be part of his life, Alana said, not as a visitor, as his mother. Malcolm folded his arms. You have to understand, this isn't about forgiveness. It's about trust. And mine is not easy to earn. Doctor. Lynn nodded, and that's fair, but Noah needs more than security. He needs connection. Can either of you offer that without undermining the other? Neither of them answered. That evening, Clara met Malcolm in the lobby. You okay? She asked. He shook his head. I feel like I'm negotiating peace with a ghost. She's not a ghost anymore, Clara replied. She's a mother, trying, scared. Just like you were. Malcolm nodded, swallowing hard. I don't want to hate her, Clara. You don't. He looked at her, puzzled. If you did, you wouldn't be hurting this much. Meanwhile, Alana sat in her small apartment, brushing Noah's hair as he played with a toy car. He was staying with her for the night, a trial visit. Do you love Daddy? He asked suddenly. Her hand paused mid-stroke. Yes, she said. I think I always did, even when I didn't know how to show it. He glanced up at her. Do you love me too? She bent down, forehead against his. More than anything in this world. He leaned into her, then asked, Then why did you leave? Her heart cracked open. Because I was broken, she said. And I thought if I disappeared, you'd be better off. He was quiet. Was I? He whispered. Alana's voice cracked. No, baby, I was wrong. He nodded slowly. Okay. And just like that, he went back to playing. She sat there, shaken, because children were forgiving in ways that adults couldn't even fathom. But the next day, the real twist came. Malcolm's legal team discovered something unexpected while investigating the media leak. An anonymous transfer from one of Syntech's rivals to a freelance journalist. The same journalist who had broken the story about Noah and Alana. It wasn't Alana. It wasn't Clara. It was someone from inside Malcolm's inner circle, and they weren't done. The leak wasn't just about Noah. It was about Syntech's upcoming AI project, a top-secret contract worth over $50 million, one that Malcolm had quietly finalized weeks ago. And now that deal was at risk of collapse. As Malcolm stood over the confidential report, one thought echoed in his mind like a warning bell. This wasn't just a custody battle anymore. This was war. Malcolm stared at the security footage, his jaw locked tight, the veins on his temple pulsing. The dim glow of the surveillance screen cast a ghostly light on his face as the time-stamped clip played again. There it was, an employee slipping a flash drive into the main server room after hours. That employee was Dean Wexler, his own VP of technology and someone he had mentored for 6 years. "Run it again," Malcolm said to his head of security. "Yes, sir," the man replied. The footage looped. "Slow it down." There it was, Dean glancing around nervously, then inserting the drive. A few keystrokes later, the lights flickered. The same day, the press received the confidential report. The betrayal cut deeper than Alana's ever could. Dean had known everything: Noah's identity, the upcoming AI deal, the internal vulnerabilities Malcolm had quietly tried to patch. Dean had sold him out. "Get him in here," Malcolm said coldly. "Now." But Dean never showed. He was already gone. Vanished. His home empty. His phone disconnected. Alana was waiting when Malcolm got home that night. Noah was asleep in the guest room, sprawled across the bed with his favorite dinosaur plush tucked under one arm. "I heard," she said softly. "Clara called me." Malcolm threw his jacket across the back of the chair. "I trusted him. I built everything with people I thought were loyal. Now everything's unraveling." She stepped closer. "You still have Noah. That hasn't changed." He met her gaze. "What if I can't protect him from all this?" "From me?" She shook her head. "You're not the danger here, Malcolm. The danger is shutting down when he needs you the most." His silence was heavy, filled with anger, fear, guilt, so many things layered beneath the surface. Then unexpectedly he spoke. "When I was his age, my mom used to work 2 jobs. I never saw her. And I always told myself, one day, I'll build a life where I don't have to miss anything. But I missed everything anyway." His first word. First step. First time he called someone mom, and it wasn't you. It wasn't anyone. It was nobody. Tears welled in Alana's eyes. She reached out, placing her hand over his. "You still have time," she whispered. "He still looks for you." Still lights up when you walk in the room. Malcolm sat down slowly, the exhaustion setting into his bones. "We need to find Dean before this explodes into the press again. If the AI deal collapses, we could lose more than contracts. Our names, our legacy, even Noah's future." Alana squeezed his hand. "Then let me help." He looked at her skeptically. "I'm not asking you to trust me all at once. But this is my mess too now, and I don't run anymore." He studied her for a long beat, then nodded. "Okay." They spent the next 48 hours digging, quietly, ruthlessly. Clara pulled financials. Malcolm's legal team traced the money trail. And Alana. She reached out to someone unexpected, her ex-colleague, now an investigative journalist, who owed her a favor from years back. "I need a trace," she said into the phone. "Encrypted transfers from the Wexler account, offshore." "Can you help?" There was a pause. "If this is about Syntech, I'm not getting dragged into corporate warfare." "It's about a child," she said. "A little boy who's about to lose everything." That changed everything. By Sunday morning, They had a hit. Dean had boarded a flight to Geneva, but before that, he had transferred nearly $3 million into an anonymous holding account. That account had ties to Zephyrex Corp, the same company that bid against Syntec for the AI military contract. Malcolm cursed under his breath. They didn't just poach him, they paid him to destroy us. Alana stepped forward. Then we give the feds everything. The leak, the money trail, the footage. This isn't corporate sabotage anymore. It's national security. He looked at her, really looked. Why are you doing this? Because I left once, and I won't let Noah lose the only parent who's never walked away. Later that day, they sat Noah down together. He was quiet, eyes darting between them. You're both here, he said. That's new. Alana smiled. We're trying something different. Malcolm knelt beside him. Sometimes adults make mistakes, big ones, but we always try to fix them, especially for the people we love most. Noah tilted his head. Even if it's too late? Alana touched his cheek gently. It's never too late to show up. He didn't say anything, just nodded, got up, and walked over to his sketchbook. He opened it, pulled out a folded drawing, and handed it to them. It was a picture of the three of them holding hands. Maybe we can hang this up somewhere, he said. Malcolm felt something break loose in his chest, and he reached for his son, holding him close. Alana leaned in too. For the first time in a decade, they were in the same room, together. Not perfect, not healed, but there. The next morning, the FBI took over the investigation. Malcolm handed them everything. The footage, the financial trail, the documents. And when the agents left, one of them paused at the door and said, "That deal you were closing. The Pentagon hasn't pulled out. They're watching how you handle this. And so far, you're earning more than contracts. You're earning trust." As the door shut behind them, Malcolm turned to Alana. Looks like we're not done rebuilding yet. No, she said with a soft smile. We're just getting started. And this time, it felt like the truth. The courtroom was colder than Malcolm expected. Not physically, but emotionally. It was sterile, white walls and fluorescent lights, filled with murmurs and side glances. Reporters packed the gallery. Investors, lawyers, even government observers sat stiff-backed, waiting for the verdict that could define not just a business deal, but a legacy. Alana sat in the front row next to Clara, clutching her purse tightly in her lap. She looked over her shoulder toward Malcolm and gave the smallest nod. He returned it, barely. Dean Wexler sat just 20 feet away, in a grey suit that looked a size too big, surrounded by his high-priced legal team. His eyes were sunken. The flash drive, the one he thought no one would ever trace, was now the centerpiece of a federal investigation. Judge Callahan entered, and silence swept the room. The proceedings began. As the lead federal prosecutor presented their closing argument, detailing how Dean had funneled proprietary algorithms to Zephyrex in exchange for offshore payments, Malcolm thought about Noah, who was home with a nanny, watching cartoons, unaware that his father's name was being either cleared or destroyed in real time. But then came the twist. The prosecutor introduced a surprise witness, a young developer from Zephyrex who'd quietly come forward. He testified that Dean had not only stolen data, but had altered internal logs to frame Malcolm for potential security breaches. It wasn't just betrayal. It was an attempt to eliminate Malcolm altogether. Gasps echoed in the courtroom. Dean's face drained of all color. His lawyer leaned over, whispering urgently, but Dean just stared forward, stunned. Alana leaned into Clara. He was trying to destroy Malcolm, not just take what he built. It took only an hour for the judge to rule. Dean Wexler was found guilty of corporate espionage, fraud, and obstruction of justice. He'd face sentencing later, but the damage to his reputation was irreversible. As the gavel dropped, Malcolm sat still, not celebrating. Just breathing, deeply. Finally. Outside, the media mob swarmed, microphones shoved forward, flashes blinding. Mr. Maddox, are you stepping down as CEO? Do you plan to restructure Syntech's board? Is your ex-wife returning to the company? Malcolm raised a hand calmly. One at a time, he said, his voice strong. Today wasn't just about clearing my name. It was about showing what happens when truth is buried by greed. We built Syntech to push boundaries, not to be destroyed by them. And as of this moment, I'm not stepping down. I'm stepping forward, with new leadership and a renewed commitment to integrity. That includes someone you'll be seeing more of. He turned to the side. Alana stepped forward, stunned. He extended his hand. The crowd roared in questions. She hesitated, then took it. In case anyone forgot, Malcolm added, this woman didn't just help build Syntech. She helped save it. Back at the house that evening, the mood was quiet. Noah was at the kitchen table, coloring. You were on the news, he said casually. Malcolm smiled. I noticed. Mom too, Noah added. She looked cool. Alana chuckled. Thanks, buddy. Noah looked between them, then asked, Does this mean we're a family again? The question hit both of them like a freight train. Malcolm knelt beside him. We're working on it. Alana sat down beside him. And whatever happens next, you'll never be in the middle of it again. Noah nodded, satisfied. For now. Later that night, Malcolm and Alana stood on the balcony, watching the city lights stretch out beneath them. Everything's different now, he said. She nodded. But maybe it's the difference we needed. They were quiet a while. Then Malcolm spoke again. You know, for a long time, I kept telling myself that my success had to be silent. Like I had to prove I didn't need anyone, that if I opened up, I'd lose control. Alana looked over. And now? He turned to her. Now I know success means nothing if you have no one to share it with. As they stood there, shoulder to shoulder, the wind gentle and full of promise, it wasn't about starting over. It was about finally starting right. This story reminds us that success built on isolation is just a shell. True legacy is built on trust, redemption, and love. If this story moved you, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to our channel. Let's keep sharing stories that remind us all what truly matters.